Hi, and welcome back to another episode of You're in Charge, Now What? I'm your host, Glenn Pasch. And the goal of this channel is to help those of you that find yourself now in charge of a team, a business, or even a project build the skills necessary to lead high-performing teams. Each week, we're going to focus on one topic. We're going to give you some strategies and tactics that have helped me build my businesses, also my guests, their strategies as well, so that you can generate consistent results. If you're new to the channel, just please click the subscribe button. It would mean a lot to me. Also, throw your comments in. Love to hear what you like and what you don't like. Also, if there's a topic you'd like me to talk about or find a guest that we can have a conversation about it, let me know that as well. So without further ado, I'm really excited to finally getting around. I know it took to season 2, but I got my good friend Frank Lopes here, who is going to join me today, who's going to share some of his wisdom. Frank, finally, thank you for coming aboard and sharing some time with me.
Finally is right. 100% my fault. You know, guilty as charged. The dig is deserved. 100% my fault because you were asking for a long time, and I was like, you know, my schedule, my this, my that. But hey, look, we're here now.
We're here now.
That's what matters. We're going to have a great time, and we are going to bring tremendous value to everybody who's investing the time into listening, watching, whatever, if they're driving
However
and
you're
listening,
going to consume this content.
whatever. If you are tuned in right now, it is our job to make sure that every second you put into this, that you get a tremendous amount of value back, and that's exactly what we're going to do.
Great. So do me a quick favor, take 30 seconds, introduce yourself, and then we're going to start diving in and see what we can help some people with.
I mean, the Cliff Notes version, very simple. My name is Frank J. Lopes. I'm the #1 retail automotive sales strategist and marketing agent. I'm vice president of FB Digital. I'm a keynote speaker, conference MC. I'm an author of this fantastic book right here, The 7-Minute Setup.
It's worth it. Worth it.
And let me put as a side note, Glenn Pasch was the first person to actually read the book from cover to cover with feedback. So thank you so much. And there were some edits made based on Glenn's advice, which I take very, very seriously. Yeah, I mean, that's the basic 30, that's the basic 30, quick
30 seconds. So, all right. So here, this season, talking more about the guest's journey. Season 1, we spoke a lot about, okay, Frank, tell me if you're going into a business and you're going to help, a new manager, what would you do? But season 2, I started to think a little bit more about people's journeys, how they got to where they are now. Even since I've known you've changed, not fully changed paths, but you've moved along into different places, and you've moved different areas of how to evolve your personal brand and your business. So what I want to talk about right out of the gate is this idea of rituals, because I was speaking to a Joey Little, previous guest on the podcast, and he was talking about how rituals are really important for him, especially as he's changing and moving and changing career paths. But for you, how do you put all, if somebody has all these, irons in the fire, so to speak, like you do, how do you keep yourself organized? What's your ritual to be able to stay at a high level of performance?
Well, it's funny that you asked that, because it's this right here. I mean, the method that I use and the process that I use is actually, and this is not a plug, you just happen to lead right into the question, the question leads into the answer. This is not a plug, but the process that I use to keep myself organized and to keep myself constantly moving forward is in my book, The 7-Minute Setup. And Glenn, look, everyone, you started off saying that, even from the time that we've met, the time that we've become friends to, up to now, you've seen some changes and whatnot in what I do and how I do my brand, what I put out there, and look, I think all of us, Glenn, to be honest, I think we're all supposed to be changing. You
I
know,
think
we're
so. Yeah.
yeah, we're supposed to be evolving. We're supposed to be, we're not supposed to be the exact same thing that we were yesterday. We that's just the way that life is, right? And we're going along with life by constantly improving and constantly evolving, hopefully not going backwards as a part of the journey,
Right.
but a lot of the stuff for me is, I try to be as calculated and as meticulous as I possibly can be with my time, because all of us have, look, the reality, we all have a limited amount of time that we're all going to be here. And I really don't want to waste a second of it. Now, that doesn't mean that I'm walking around like, oh, I've got 3 minutes for this and 92 seconds for that and 11 seconds. It's not like that. It's just a fact of starting each and every day with a plan, a plan for my work. And then I work my plan after that.
So was that always something? I mean, listen, you started an agency, or you run this agency, but it seems like, well, let me ask you, just answer that. So was it always this way? Have you always been organized, or was it something that just evolved, or was it a way that did the book just all of a sudden you woke up one day and was like, man, I've been doing this and it's working? How did this whole thing evolve?
Yeah, it all started, I want to say, back in maybe 93 or 94. I worked for a newspaper. I worked for the Asbury Park Press, and our general manager, his name was Dave Thaler. And Dave Thaler taught me the saying, plan your work and work your plan.
Right.
And it was a basic thing of, hey, every day you just write down, this was very basic. Every day, write down what it is that you want to do. And then you just work out that list every single day. Now that sounds very, very simple, but what I found happening to myself was that I was just always working on tasks, and my tasks weren't leading to anything besides filling the task.
So you felt busy.
Yeah, I was busy, but I wasn't really accomplishing anything. It's almost, it's almost like you would go to the grocery store and you would have a list, a shopping list, but every time you got to the end of it, somebody handed you a new list, and you never finished shopping. You never, you never got all the groceries that you needed for the week. It was just a constant thing of checking things off the list. So then, through reading so many various like self-help books and motivational books and things like that, I learned about ideas like, about like envisioning what you want your life to look like,
right.
Long-term goals. But every time I read one of these books, Glenn, when I got to the end, I was always let down and disappointed because there was no process. Everybody tells you that you should be doing these things, but very few of them actually tell you how to do it. They just let you out of the gate, with it's like a horse out of the gate with no jockey. You run like hell and you run like crazy, but eventually the horse is like, well, wait a minute, where am I going? What am I supposed to be doing?
That's interesting, because I remember reading books very similar to that, or almost feeling as if I missed something.
Yes.
Because you buy the hype, and so, insert, motivational person, organizing person,
right.
Whatever name. And you get really hyped because you go, yes, oh, I want that. And you'd read it and you go, I missed something. I really miss something. Or it was a short term. They gave you something that helped you for a little bit, but then you go, well, where's the payoff? Or how can I do this? It never felt, what I liked about your book was it felt as if it was a plan that you could just incorporate forever.
Right.
Versus this was a 30-day thing or a 60-day thing. And, even now you see a lot of people doing some of these challenges for certain number of days or certain things. And that's fine. But I always go, well, how are you supposed to do this forever? Because some of those things you can't do forever. It's too high stress. Or same thing, they get you all psyched up and then you are left, wanting. And then you go to the next book and all you seem to do is another version of that 30, 45, 60-day inspiration to, I'm going to get organized and I'm going to start doing this. And I'm going to change. And then all of a sudden it just peters out.
Right. Exactly. That's totally what happens. And that's totally what happened to me. And Glenn, look, that's not a knock on any of on any of these books or any of these authors, any of it. It's all absolutely fantastic. And I'm 100% sure that for each and every one of those authors, that's exactly what they intended. That was their goal for the book, right? But me myself, trying to implement these ideas and trying to implement these theories, there was just no process. So
Right.
I had to actually sit down and work out my own process that always kept it so that I was working towards some type of a long-term goal. And I figured out the only way to do that was to break that goal down, just to reverse engineer that goal all the way down to what should I be doing today that's going to keep me moving forward towards whatever that long-term goal is. And I break them down in the book. I break them down to a 7-year vision, which would be like, what's your high level goals?
Right.
And then over the next 7 months, what do you need to accomplish to get closer to that big 7-year vision? And then every week, in the beginning of the week, whether that be your Sunday or your Monday, whatever, it doesn't matter, whatever the start of your week is, what am I going to accomplish over the next 7 days that'll get me closer to those 7-month waypoint goals? And then every single morning, first thing that I do religiously, absolute first thing I do, okay, what am I going to do today? Now, I'm not just working on tasks. And look, the tasks are in that day-to-day list as well.
Sure.
If I have to call you back, for example, if you called me but I couldn't get to you, call Glenn Pasch is on there, right? But also it's, say for example, if I had a goal that I wanted to lose weight, right? And I'm starting all the way at the top, okay? And I'm making numbers up. Let's say I weigh 250 and I want to get down to 200. You know, the reverse engineer of that is, okay, I got to change the way I eat. I have to change my exercise routine, all that stuff. That could trickle all the way down to my daily list of investigate local gyms and
Right.
find a gym
But
to go
see,
to.
so let's do this, because I think this is really key, because for most businesses, um, setting goals, it's very, it's not an easy thing. Or I think it's done incorrectly because, one,
Yes.
they're not looking out far enough, right? So I like this concept of, where do I want to be in 7 years? You're not going to get wherever that is. And even if you said to you, using the example of weight, you didn't go from 200 to 250 in a week. So you sure as heck aren't going to go. And even you probably didn't go there in 7 months. Right. And there's too
Right.
much of this. I want it fast. I've seen it where people will starve themselves and they'll lose 20 pounds in a month and they go, yeah. And then all of a sudden they gain it back because it wasn't maintainable. Right. We
Yes.
talked about that earlier. It's not maintainable. So let's do the weight, right? And even you said, listen, I want my health 7 years from now. I want to have, be in the best shape of my life, great blood pressure, all the rest of that. And then you say,
Yeah.
okay, well, one of the first things is I have to lose 25 pounds, let's say. And you say, well, is that a good goal for 7 months? And then you do the math and you say, okay, that's, 25 pounds, 7 months, that's 3 to 4 pounds. It's almost a pound a week. Is that too drastic? I don't know. Well, then, like you said, let me, over this next week, right, let
Let's
me
investigate.
investigate what that means. And then I can study and say, then I can come to a plan to say at the next week, go, okay, based on this information, that's not the healthiest. Or, no, I think I
I
can
could
do
do
it.
more. Maybe you could do more.
But even if you said that's my thing, then you say, okay, well, then the next week is, instead of rushing. And I think this is what I like about this. What I liked most about the book when I read it was, you're constantly planning. Like you said, I have a plan for this week. I work the plan. I get feedback. I see some results, and then I tweak, versus just keep blindly doing it, because I could be going, you know, like they always say, I could be rowing, and all of a sudden, look, I'm down so far down the road. Look at this, I ran 3 miles, and then you go, well, yeah, but you're in the wrong place, right? You're in the
Right.
wrong area. So then it's, well, what do I have to do? And I like that. What can I do today to move myself one step forward? What can I do this week? So often we see everybody write up this big plan that becomes so overwhelming to people
Yes.
that they stop themselves. They can't do anything, or they try it and it is so debilitating. I'm going to lift weights today, and they do all this weights and then they can't pick their hands up the next day.
Yeah,
Or
right.
like we said earlier, they starve themselves and they eat just a little bit of lettuce, and I just have a cup of rice, and I'm looking going, that's not sustainable. And that's what I
And then they
really like about
crash.
it.
And then
Yeah.
they crash. Or the like, I want to get in shape type of thing. I want to get in shape. Well, look, you can get on that weight bench and you can bench press yourself all day long. And at the end of the day, your chest isn't going to be any bigger. It's not. All of it takes time. It all
Well,
takes time, and
that's
it
it.
all
I
builds up.
used to tell people, where do you want to be next year at this time, right? Which goes into that 7 months, 7 months, and then another 7 months. But if you started projecting out, right, I
Yes.
think that this 7 months from now, we're at the end of November. So let's just say that's 4th of July. Like, think about that.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think you could lose 20 pounds between now and the 4th of July? Like, when you say that to people, they're like, sure,
Right.
because it's a long enough time where it's manageable. Then you can break it down and say, okay, what do I have to do? Then you can do some incremental changes so that you're not overwhelmed. Then you start,
Absolutely.
we talked about it before we jumped on. Okay, don't change anything in your diet except lunch from now on. Have a big, huge salad with a lot of different vegetables, and that's all I want you to do for the next
Yes.
month. And then all of a sudden someone goes, oh, look, I lost a couple pounds, or
There's another part in there as well, Glenn, because you touched on it, but I want to make sure that everybody listening grabs a hold of this, right? There's a specific reason why everything is broken down into sevens. It's not because I like the number 7. It's not because I like Mickey Mantle, right? Or Cristiano Ronaldo or any of that kind of stuff. But there is a correlation between the number 7 and a lot of these things. Number one, a lot of people like to think in that 10-year model, right?
right.
10 years from today. Well, 10 years and also 7 months and 1 year. Glenn, a lot of stuff can and will change within the next 7 months. And because of those things that will change over the next 7 months, they could very well alter where you want to be in 7 years
Absolutely.
or in 10 years. You see, because while we have our plan and while we're working our plan and we have our goals and everybody wants to live in a big house by the ocean, that's like every single person that I have coached through the 7-minute setup on their 7-year vision, in the first 3 things, I live in a big house by the ocean, everybody, right? But with things that are changing, and everybody else has their own agenda, everybody else is
Sure.
working their own plan, right?
Yep.
You're constantly going to be in flux, and that's okay. That's normal. That's completely normal. That doesn't mean you change your ideas just with the whim, okay? But 7 months ago from today, think about where we were and what we were dealing with. Think about 7 months before that. Nobody even knew how to spell COVID 14 months ago.
Sure.
People didn't know how to spell it 10 months ago. But so things are going to evolve and things are going to change. So that 10-year, that you have a 10-year plan, have a 1-year plan. This is why New Year's resolutions don't work. I mean, come on.
Well, because also I think what happens is they put things off.
Yes. I got plenty of time to do that. I got plenty of time.
Or they say, well, I don't have to do anything. I'll do it in January. And then, like you said, because also they don't have the plan. And think about it from business, right? So if you're going into work with a business, I have my agency. We do this every year, sitting down and saying, okay, what's our goal? What's our revenue goal? And then reverse engineer. Right? Well, how much does that mean we have to bring in every single month? How many how many net clients does that mean we have to increase, right? Because there is an agency business, there is turnover. So you turn around and say, well, what's net? And then you go, well, then how many people do I need on the team selling to achieve that, right? Once you start mapping things out, that's why I like whiteboards or mind mapping, software, because it's all, well, if we want that, we have to plan it out, right? Same thing like we were talking about losing 20 pounds. I can starve myself. I can do a lot of different things, but if I balance my goal with time and achievement and then break down which is what I like about this, is what am I doing this week? What efforts to
Right.
now I could get to the end of the week and go, that either didn't work or I got more or I got less, right? But at least I'm having these shorter milestones or mileposts, I should say, to take a moment to relax and adjust as needed versus nope, I'm going to put my head down and I'm not going to look up and monitor anything for a year. And then you
That's
go,
that's ludicrous. That's nuts. I mean, look, the breakdown of the day and the breakdown of the week is, it's done 100% by design. And number one reason is because we all need wins.
yes,
We all need to
absolutely. I was
feel,
just going to say that. I wrote that
yeah,
down.
we need
Everybody
to
needs
feel,
the wins.
we need to feel some accomplishment. We need to see that we're a little closer to the top of the mountain. We're a little closer to the end of the tunnel, right? And insert metaphor that you like, right? That you're a little bit closer to the finish line, because that continues to bring inspiration, and most importantly, it brings hope. If you're going to climb a mountain and drive to wherever it is, and you get out of your car and you get to the bottom of the mountain and you look up, you're like, no, how is this ever going to happen? It's going to happen because first you're going to get to this part, then you're going to get to this part, then you're going to get a little higher, and then you're going to assess where you are, which is it
Right.
still
And
a
you
good
might
way to
actually
go.
have to go back down to go up. It's very similar again, going back. I think the weight analogy really, people understand that. When I was, my wife always laughs. She goes, "Why do you weigh yourself every day?" I said, "I weigh myself every day because one, there's fluctuations.
Yes.
So I know there's fluctuations based on what I ate. If it was salty, did you hold on, retain water or whatever it is, or you just say, hey, listen, I couldn't work out for a while. So I know my weight, and it goes, and it's like, I always use the analogy of bouncing a basketball on an escalator, right? So there's up and down, but my trend is up or trend is down, however you're watching it. But every day it just gives me a check-in. So same thing by you doing it at the end of the day and go, did I do what I needed to do? Right. I remember reading the one book I read one time where it was an interview with the gentleman, Charles Schwab, who started the investment
Mm-hmm.
bank. He used to keep his notes on index cards. And he said, I'd put 5 things because he said every day I'd distill it to these 5 things have to get done today. He goes, he might have more, but these had to be done. And he would always say, if for some reason something came up and I couldn't do one, it became the number one thing on my card for tomorrow morning, right?
Right.
So, but he kept it in a manageable number, right? Versus all have had these big long checklists, and then the day just happens. And to your point, we don't win enough. But if I narrow
Right.
it down and say, here's the 3 things I have to get done today, like have to, and then at the end of the day, you're like, yes, and I did a little more. But then part of your time is on that Sunday or Monday to look backwards and review, how did it go? And then what's next? But you're still staying connected to your 7th month goal, which will get to your 7-year goal, right? But that's where I think businesses or a lot of leaders sometimes fail, is that they put too much stuff in the front,
Yes.
or they haven't broken it down in manageable pieces. So they're still just, they're at every week, they're looking at their 7-month goal every week and saying, we have to do all of it, instead of, no, I did this piece, and that's build,
Right.
get there.
And Glenn, in our industry, and in the industry that we focus most of our time in, and on this, that that most of our business comes from, in retail automotive, there are monstrous amounts of items and things that get in the way of that get
Sure.
in the way of the long-term planning. I mean, just the overall mindset of our industry has always been day to day and month to month, and that's it. Like at the end of the month, it's almost like you hit the edge of the world. The earth is flat. You hit the edge and you fall off, not realizing that you wake up on the first and you start all over again. That whole clean slate thing is almost taken too seriously to a point.
Well, I think it, and that is one of the struggles. I was doing a podcast this morning. I was on a panel talking, and they said, what are one of the biggest hurdles, for automotive? And it is all of these different things pulling. I mean, you have software that doesn't talk to each other. You
Yeah.
have different philosophies. You have, some guidance from the manufacturer, but then you also are allowed to run your business your own way. And then to your point is I run up this hill and I take a breath, and that's the end of the month. And now there's another hill and I got to go up that hill. And there just never seems to be any time where you can't take your foot off the gas,
Right.
right? My wife was a salesperson. She sold TV shows for the BBC and A&E into Latin America. And she was in charge of the whole department, but they had a goal for the year. They were not micromanaged every month,
Mm-hmm.
meaning that she would have to sit down and say, what's in the pipeline, what's our work in progress, where we're at. So you're constantly monitoring it. But she said, I could never sell like that, where you have to sell this month, this many, and then you
Right.
take a breath and then do it again, do it again. I mean, that is, so I think a lot of times it's a detriment. And that's why I wanted to focus on this so much today, is the fact that you focus so much on just attaining that one goal, you don't see how it fits into that 7-month plan,
Right.
right? And
Exactly.
how we're going to get to that 7 month. You're so buried in a 7 days and you're like, shoo, and you forget to pick your head up and say, well, am I going in the right direction towards 7 months? And if I hit that 7 months, well, where am I going my next 7 months to get towards the 7-year goal? It's so important. And again, I love this book. You guys, all of you should get a copy of this book, just because it's going to help you understand how to break things down, but more importantly, how to reconnect the thread of why you're doing it. Like, why am I doing these things for today? Or why am I doing these things this week? Right? Because sometimes you can get in this loop of just busy work. Like you said, I'm constantly going through
Right.
the aisles of the store and I'm filling up my basket, but it never seems like to end, or I'm wasting time. Why am I over here? Now I'm over there. And there's no rhyme or reason to it.
Yeah. And after a little while working like that, Glenn, you give up.
Oh yeah.
You
Yeah.
wind
Yeah.
up
Yeah.
giving up. Glenn, there's another very, very important part of the whole process that I want to bring up, and that is that there are two things. Number one, you have to realize and you have to embrace the fact that your plan and your goals, that they're going to change. They're going to change and evolve. We touched on that a little bit
Yep.
earlier, right? What you want today may not be the exact same thing that you want 7 months from now. It may not be what you want 3 weeks from now, once you start working towards a certain goal and
Exactly.
you're like, whoa, I don't want to do this. I don't want to do that. Wait, whoa. So you mean I have to do this to be able to get to that? Well, I'm not willing to do this. And
Right.
you may change your mind. You may change your mind. And number two, what I think is the most important part of the whole process is you have to make yourself, and you have to feel safe to be able to fail while trying, and also feel safe to say, hey, you know what? This isn't for me. I don't like this.
Right.
Instead, but now I have an idea, since I started working towards it. Now I want to go for this. Like I said, not be wishy-washy and flim-flammy all over the place with it, but starting something, failing because either you did it wrong, you had the wrong outlook, you didn't have enough information, you went too fast, you went too slow, whatever, and making the adjustment and continuing to move forward. Not beating yourself up for making that mistake, or for coming up a little bit short, not being beat up by somebody else for coming up short or making a mistake in the process of trying.
I think that's so important, because we have a tendency to beat ourselves up, or we get, the key is, out of that, is understanding, why are we doing this in the first place? Who
Yes.
is this benefiting? If I'm doing it to get to please you, that's not going to be a long-term real connect. But if we're doing it for us, for whatever reason, because then I'm going to accomplish this, I can do this, or going back to the weight, I'm doing this so I can be healthy.
Right.
It has to have, you have to be invested in it. But what I really like about your comments is you have to be willing to look in a mirror And it's, see, to me, it's not even failing, because failing still has a negative connotation versus just saying, I didn't get the results I wanted. Why? You're right. So
Yes.
actions, I always say actions cause results. You're always doing something, right? People go, oh, they were sitting there doing nothing. I said, no, they're actively sitting there. That's all they're doing, but they chose to do that versus this. So they're always doing something. I didn't get the results. You have to be honest with yourself and say, am I willing to put my head on the pillow and said, I tried my hardest. I
Right.
did everything I could.
Honestly
And
say
that's
that.
okay. And even if you say, I didn't, that's okay.
That's
Then you
totally
have
okay.
to examine to say, why didn't I? Well, probably because something else came up that you chose to be more important than me doing this. And that's okay. But it's that realization without judgment. It's not judging yourself, and then go back on track and just say, you know what? I ate like junk over this weekend because I had friends over, and you know
Yes.
what? And you just say, you know what? Okay. Did you enjoy yourself? I had a good time, my friends. Great. So now today but it's because you have a path. It's because you have a framework. You can get back on track easier than if you just say, well, I feel bad. I don't know what to do, versus going, yeah, all right. I ate that stuff yesterday. That was my cheat day, whatever you want to call it. And now back on track this day. And so you just get back onto, those actions that are going to help move you forward. And even if you get to a point where you say, you know what, either I don't want to do this anymore, or I have to change it up. With this strategy is you have something to compare it to go, no, I got to change it over here because of this, right?
Yes, absolutely. And a thing that I find happen, and Glenn, it happened to me personally, and by working with some people as they're using the process, in the 7-minute setup, as they're going through it, I'm finding that two things are coming up all the time when we're talking about, not so much with setting the 7-year waypoint goals, but with setting with the 7-year vision, but with setting up the 7-month waypoint goals. And the first is obvious, the second is not so obvious. The obvious one is they don't take action, or they don't put something on there because they're afraid that they're going to fail. They're afraid they're going to fail, and they're afraid. And look, and this, in our industry, in automotive, this happens all the time. A lot of times the goal is, I want to sell more cars. What's your goal?
Right.
What do you want to do? I want to sell more cars. Well, how many more? I just want to sell more. Well, is one more enough?
Right.
Or 100 more?
Yep.
Or 1,000 more? What's it going to be? I just want to sell more. Let's see how it goes. A lot of that is fear of failure, of putting an actual number or putting an actual rock solid goal on that, what more cars actually means.
Right.
So that's fear of, the fear of actually coming up short, and the fear of failure. The other one, Glenn, that's not so obvious, and I found this myself a lot, and I'm able to extract it out of some people that I'm working with, and it's what happens if I succeed?
Right.
What does that actually look like? Or what else is succeeding at that going to bring?
Right.
And a lot of times when you break that down for somebody, it's the equivalent of, I want to make $1 million a year. Okay. And somebody's saying, well, if I make $1 million a year, that means I'm going to have to pay somewhere between $350,000 in taxes. How am I going to pay that?
You got the $1 million.
You got the $1 million to start with, right? You got the $1 million to start with. But it could also be things like, I want to grow my business. I want to grow my business from 1 million a year to 10 million a year, right? Oh, but if I do 10 million a year, that means I'm going to need more employees. And that means I'm going to need more inventory, which means I'm going to need more inventory space, which means I'm going to need more floor space, which means I'm going to need they start putting so many problems in front of them that they can't fathom yet.
Yeah, I think it's funny. We have that. I agree with you, because I think there's with, what was it? The rap song, what was it? Biggie, more money, more problems, right?
Right.
So so when you have that, there is also the fear of what happens after. So what happens if I lose the weight? Now I'm down to 200 and I'm happy at 200, but then what happens if I gain the weight back? Then people are going to look at me, or, and, and we get wrapped up to, as you were saying, you almost talk yourself out of
Out of
trying
it.
anything because, well, what happens if I succeed? Great. Well, then you have time to make a new adjustment. Then you have to look at it and say, well, now I might have more responsibility, or I have to continue to do this to maintain that. Right. So again, that's why I always go back when as I said, talking about the weight, is doing all these drastic things are not maintainable. But all of a sudden, if you say, I lost this weight. So listen, if you gain a couple pounds back, well, then you also know how to get back, right? You've done it. You've done
You've
the
already
hard work.
accomplished it.
You know how to jump right back on. Like if I gain a few pounds and I go, I know exactly what to do to bring those couple down again, where I just go, okay, I'm good. I did. So I think all of this strategy for businesses, especially fear of success and fear of responsibility, or fear of, I have to change, in order to do this, I have to change. And that's good. But people are afraid to change either way. They don't want to change and get worse. But like to your point is, do I change to get better? That means other things in my life have to change. Does that mean that now, as you said, the tentacles go out from here, the
Yes.
octopus extends a little bit, and all of a sudden they're going, well, I don't know if I want that, but I thought you wanted it. Well, I thought I wanted it until I got it. Now I don't want it. But, I still think if most successful business people have these goals, I think what happens is that, as I said earlier, I think we get caught up so much, as you said. I thought it was really astute at the very beginning, is this, I just work on my tasks, and I'm just working hard every day on my tasks. And
Yes.
I pick my head up 7 years from now and you go, I didn't really move too far because you weren't, you lost sight of where you're going. You were just pedaling hard, but you didn't really look up to see when you should have turned and when you shouldn't have, or what you had to change. You just were, nope, 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 head down, head down, head down,
Right.
with no
Exactly.
clear goal.
Exactly. And Glenn, another part of this whole thing, and a lot of people get this messed up, and Glenn, we see every day in our industries and in our businesses, we see this all the time, right? And it's the harsh reality that none of us, no matter what it is, and no matter who we are, no matter what the goal is, none of us are going to be able to accomplish that goal without the help, without the assistance, influence, leg up, support of other people. And those other people are going to be, it's going to be all across the spectrum. It's going to be those that are closest to us. It's going to be strangers on the outside that maybe we need to influence to like us or to follow us or to listen to us, so that we can help them, then we can get to our goals. The people closest to us sometimes are the hardest people to get on board. They're the
Yeah.
hardest ones to get you to get the backing or the support, or to get them to do, maybe to alter or a thing or two that goes along with your goals. Look, if you're looking to, if you're looking to get healthier and you're looking to gain weight, but your significant other wants to eat a cheesecake a day,
Yeah.
you're going to
Yeah.
there's going to be an issue there.
There is. And I think, I think to that point is, you said it earlier, is nobody likes to put a number on it. For some reason, they're afraid of judgment either way, of, hey, great, congratulations, we're here for you. And then other people like, you're going to fail. And you may have to. And I think that's part of the reason of, if I have to commit to doing this, I might have to change some people in my circle of friends.
Yes.
And that's a hard conversation to have. But I've always been, I'm a private person, even though, people go, what? I said, I'm more introverted than people realize. So I don't share a ton of stuff but I've always, when I have reached out or I have set goals or I have shared it with, my circle of people who I can really rely on, it's amazing how many people that you never would have thought of are going to reach out and encourage you or help you or might have a solution. So I think even in your business, the more that you can communicate the goals to people in simple terms, here's where we have to go as a team. You might be surprised that you're going to get feedback or help or an idea from someone you never thought of in the business,
Right.
who are going to help you, but you just kept everything very simple and clear. Going back to your point, we need to sell more versus we sold 100, we need to get to 110. Now, everybody knows what 10 more cars is, right? That's a specific goal. How can we go? Now, something we can measure that. Are we on pace? Are we off pace? What can we do differently to try?
Yes.
So I think that pushing, not saying I have to broadcast everything out on social media, which can be a little bit of, well, now you're putting it out there and you are going to get, a ton of feedback from both sides. I'm saying if you go out to just your circle of friends and saying, I'm going to do this, you may get support from somebody else because they might say to their friend, hey, my friend Frank is trying to do this. And then all of a sudden they go, oh, well, I know somebody who could help Frank like this.
Right.
Right. That your network extends, but you have to be willing to put it out there.
And Glenn, if you want to learn who your real friends are, you really, really want to learn who's got your back, go ahead and put it out there. And because you will hear every single part of the, every end of the spectrum, most of it is going to be, people taking their own feelings or their own fears or their own insecurity and throw out, blah, here it is. Here's my trash. Here it is. I don't want you to get big because then I can't keep a leg up on you. There's that. Take that, or, hey, I tried that and failed and God forbid you do it and succeed. Take that, and you learn really quick the person who looks at you and says, you know what, I think it's hard. That's hard to do. You're going to have a tough time with it, right. But who could help you out? Give this guy a call. Or, you know what, I tried doing that a few years back. I wasn't successful. You know where I came into problems? Here, and here.
Right.
Look, you're going to learn really quick who has your back and who basically, wants to keep you down and who really doesn't give a crap about you succeeding or anything.
And that's
you.
As I said, that's a hard thing because sometimes the people who you thought, and again, it goes for people's expectations, at the same moment in time, you putting your goal out there, I might putting it out there. Wow, I'm disappointed that Frank didn't, like, my expectations of how you should react to my goal also can be dangerous because then you could sit there and say, no, I'm here for you if you need me, but I got my own stuff to do versus I have my expectation of how you should react. But I think to your point is the more clear you can be with your goals, 7 years, 7 months, 7 weeks, what actions I'm going to take to move me forward gains those quick wins, but they have to be tangible.
Absolutely.
That everybody understands what it means. More is vague, right? It has to be a number, a time, a day of week. Like everybody understands what 10 o'clock in the morning is. Everybody understands what, right? That's why numbers are always easier to attain versus feelings.
Right.
But I think the more that you have this, and I think this is really key because it allows you to build rituals for yourself, strategies for yourselves to move your own life forward, for your team. Like this can be applied. And what I loved about this book is you can apply this to anything, right? This is your weight loss goals, to my revenue goals for my company, to how do I surround myself with better people, whatever it is.
Your family relationships, your friendships.
Well, you're planning to have an impact. You're planning actions to generate results.
That's right.
You want. That's it.
That's right.
And so what happens is if you don't get the results, either I did the actions 100% and they're the wrong actions, I can adjust, or I look in the mirror and go, I didn't really do what I was supposed to do 100%, right? So you can't make a judgment on the outcome till I can put my head on the pillow and say, I busted my butt and I tried everything. And so then you go, okay, so it's the process that's wrong, not the execution. It's the process. So we got to go back and fix the process versus.
And Glenn, big point here. Big point. When you want to do this with a team, when you've got to get your team on board,
yep,
right, exactly what you're talking about now. You've got to take all of that information and you got to relay all of that to the team. You've got to get everybody on the same page. You've got to get everybody reading out of the same book on the same chapter and verse at the exact same time. That is the key. And look, it all starts with you. Let's use retail automotive because it's easy. Okay, it's easy for us, right? So if we have a dealership that's selling 100 cars a month, and we want to sell more cars. Okay, we pick 200 as the number. We want to sell 200 cars. What do we need to sell what do we need to do to sell 200 cars before the end of the year? Okay, well, we would need more cars in inventory. We would need this, we would need that. You need the team to be bought into selling 200 cars a month, right?
Well,
So
it's what you're just saying. You have to mind map that out. So it's 200 cars by when? Where are we at currently?
yes.
Then it's, okay, well, what does that mean for each individual person, right? So then it's, okay, if we have 10 people, right, and we're at 100, then you're saying, well, everybody's going to sell 10 more cars. Can we do that? Do we have to hire more? Do we have to have inventory? Is it pricing? How are we advertising, right? There's so many spiders versus just, hey, we're going to go out and sell 200 cars even if you have that number and you say 200 cars by the end of the year.
And Glenn, we both know a lot of dealers that's what they do.
Of course.
There is no mapping. There is none of it. All there is we're going to do 200 cars and we're going to push and we're going to push and we're going to push. And as they're pushing, people are falling off the edges because they're like, wait a minute. Well, I keep getting pushed. Why do I keep, after a little while, they don't want to get pushed anymore, especially when they don't know what the actual goal is. What they're being pushed towards.
Know the goal is to
sell more cars.
They don't know what to do differently to change, right? What actions do I have to do to get those results? No one's guiding them to say, well, in order to do that, we need this, all right? You need to do this. So that means let's go look yourself. So again, if my goal is we got to sell 100 more, then you got to look at it and say, how many more for each person? And what does that mean in terms of their day-to-day work this every week? What do they have to do more of to generate that? And then are there enough opportunities to do that? No. Well, then I have to spend more money on marketing to generate more opportunities, right? Well, do we have, like, there's so many, as we said, little one-offs and spiders that we go here and go over here, go over here. Because again, you could talk to your blue in the face, I want to sell 200 and yell at everybody. But if you don't have the inventory, if you don't have the opportunities, right? Or if you don't have enough people, right? You and I have talked about, I mean, we've gone into businesses where they have all of these opportunities sitting there in a big pile. And you say, you need to hire 3 more people to handle those. I can't do that.
I can't do that. I can't afford that.
Well, then cut your marketing budget. Oh, I can't do that.
Yeah.
But you're wasting, you want to sell more, but you don't want to handle them, right? And again, every business does that. I've done that in my business. And as much as I think I'm pretty organized, I've had times where we need to increase this or we need to do more. Oh, but this is not the right time to do that. Yeah, but I want this. Oh, but I don't, right? So it is that toggle of investment and potential short-term loss. Just like we were saying, climbing the mountain, I might have to take 3 steps backwards to go on the right path that's going to go up higher versus fighting up this path and wondering why I can't get there versus, well, if I took 3 steps back, you'd see one that didn't have any obstacles and you could go further.
Right. And there has to be, and Glenn, this is also so important. Everybody has to know what's in it for them.
Oh, absolutely.
They have to, and you got to spell it out. I mean, you literally have to spell it out. If the dealership sells 200 vehicles a month, right? Number one, there's got to be a carrot. There's got to be a carrot for everybody so that everybody's pushing towards the end. Okay. Pushing towards this 200. And when you hit the 200 number, you got to give those carrots out, business owners. You got to dish out the carrots. Okay. And they have to be able to see the results as they're moving forward. And a lot of this is going to be monetary. A lot of it is going to be monetary. There's a whole underlying thing in professional sports. No matter what the sport is, if the team achieves that first level of success, which is to win their division or to win their championship or whatever, every player gets a monetary, they get to hold up the trophy, but they also get a monetary
Yep.
reward for it.
Yep. And
Not
they
not
build
just the
things.
ring.
No,
Not just the ring.
they build things into their contracts. If you achieve this and you're the MVP, you get this much money. If you do this, you get this much money. So
That's why
same thing.
that's why I'm huge in automotive. That's why I'm huge on when you're going to build a pay plan. Let's say for a BDC manager, a business development center manager, when you're going to if you're going to build a pay plan for that person, look at where you are right now. And let's just say you're setting appointments at 20% and 60% of them are showing up. Okay, great. Get me to 25% appointment set and you get a bonus of X. Get me to 30% appointment set and you get a bonus of Y. Get me to 35% appointment set and you get an appointment of Z.
Right. But
you get a
the other issue is that you have to, as you said, pay it.
You have to pay it.
Changing it, because then all of a sudden it becomes, oh, well, now you're at 30. Well, now that's the new normal and there is no bonus. That's just expected, right? So now all of a sudden the pay plans, and we could go on we could talk a whole hour on pay plans and things like that. But so let's start to wrap up, because I wanted to just, we've been going all around this. So talk to people about some of the people that you've coached through this and who've used this book. Talk to, what have been some examples of some results that people have achieved, or just even from a sense of well-being or purpose or whatever. Talk about that, because as we wrap up, everybody's going to want to know, again, if I do this, what's in it for me?
Right.
What
okay.
Some of the results that you've seen.
I'll give you a few. The one that comes to mind is exactly 7 months ago. I sat down with someone who was a trainer at the gym that I was going to, right? Somebody who was a trainer from that gym, and they had a lot of things in their life that were just off. Okay, right. Just off. Bad relationship that was tied into a bad living arrangement. That was reflective of health. That was reflective of work schedule, income production. All of these things were just all completely off. So step one was, what do you want your life to look like 7 years from today? And that took a tremendous amount of, oh, wow, I want my life to look like this, because it doesn't look like that right now. And I don't see the potential to get there. That's the absolute best one. In 7 months, this person dropped 15 pounds, was already a trainer, so changed the 15 pounds, right, in their body over to like lean muscle, looking 100% better, got rid of that bum of that bad relationship, moved into their own place, doubled their personal training clients, which in turn almost doubled their income, which opened up doors for so many other things. Now the next 7 months involve a new business. They involve a whole completely new set of goals. I've had other people that have come to the realization that they weren't progressing in their career. And the reason they weren't progressing in their career was because they didn't have the education, but they were afraid of the support from home that they needed of their significant other to do it.
Right.
So we've got people starting brand new careers. We've got people quitting their jobs and going to grad school so they can get the job that they actually want.
Right.
I told you about the person that basically completely turned their life around, 100% turned their life around. Another person, here's one that you would never expect, right? And this one is, we're into 14 months already with this person. And what they wanted to do is they were very, very into e-gaming. Right. And as you know, e-gaming, huge industry, absolute huge. Right. But how do I get into it is what he would say. How do I get into it? I want to be able to train e-gamers on how to improve their game through chiropractic and through health and through fitness, and boiled down to these guys and girls are sitting in chairs all day long, 100% working off of reflexes. Let's get their reaction time down. You know, you're working with an e-gamer who's in a competition or in a tournament with a $5 million first place prize. A tenth of a second is win or loss.
Right.
You know, it's night and day difference. That person started a full-fledged, I mean full out 100% e-gaming training business where now he's training, listen to this, you ready? 3 of the top 5 e-gamers in the world. He's training himself. 14 months ago, he didn't know any of these people besides watching them on Twitch.
Right.
All right. And has sponsors, has a full-fledged website, the biggest social media following in that space, selling courses online, selling quick courses like 15-minute courses of a thumb exercise that'll shave a tenth of a second off your reaction time. I mean, just night and day difference from an idea to actually doing it.
Well, but that goes back to, again, having that vision, having a roadmap, and then putting in the time and the effort and be willing to make adjustments as you move forward. I think that's phenomenal. Well, listen, man, we could sit here and we have many nights just chatted away on this, but so I just wanted to thank you for taking some time today. So again, hold up the book, folks. You got to go get the book. I'm telling you, we wasn't planning on talking about the book.
No, we didn't plan on it whatsoever, but you went right into it.
But that book is really, can help change your life, help you get organized, organize your business. Frank, if somebody wants to get a hold of you, where, I know you're everywhere, but what's the best way to get a hold of you to talk about, besides getting the book or just wanting to bounce ideas off of you? How do they find you?
Oh, simple thing. Go to Google, type in my name, Frank J. Lopes, and then pick any social media channel that you want. Direct message me. All of my direct messages come right here to this phone. I will answer you. I promise you I will answer you. I'll do everything to help you. If you want to get the book, very, very simple. Right now, we're sold exclusively on Amazon. Quick link is 7minutesetupbook.com, goes directly to the link where you can order the book anywhere in the world. You can use that link, 7minutesetupbook.com. Audiobook will be out before the end of the year. There's a lot of people have been pushing for the audiobook, so I got to give the people what they want. Also, the audiobook recording almost finished, needs to be edited. That'll be available anywhere that you can get audiobooks on Apple, in the library app or whatever it's called, the
Audible,
iBooks app,
Amazon, Audible.
It'll be everywhere.
Man, I appreciate it. Man, this has been fun. Always love.
Oh, thank you.
You bring such great value, and you really, what makes me proud to call you a friend is you just really do care. You lead with your heart, but you're always there to help. So listen, when he says he will answer your DM, he will answer your DM. He is very generous, and he can help you. He will definitely help you in your business. So
thank you.
Again, thank you, my friend. As always, appreciate you, value you. And then for all of you who are still hanging out with us at the end of this video, please, again, make sure you subscribe. My goal is to increase the subscriber count, not to just pat myself on the back. I just want everybody to get help every week. I release new videos. Please share it out. This episode, especially, there are a lot of people who could use this to make sure that all of their efforts are moving them forward. Again, I appreciate your attention. Thank you so much for spending some time with us. And as I say at the end of every episode, you're in charge, but now Frank's giving you some new tools to help you become more successful. Thanks so much. Hope to see you on the next episode. Frank, thanks, my friend.
Thank you, my man. Subscribe and share. Everybody subscribe and share. Subscribe to help yourself. Hit share to help others. Don't be selfish. Hit the share button right now.
Don't be selfish. All right, my friend.
Okay.
Be well.
Thank you, man.